Let's hear it.
So today I hope to share some cogency for two demographics. Us who might be becoming empty nesters and are holding on to a big house, as well as the young millennials. And those demographics are changing. So I want to introduce to you the idea of a small house. A house that's under 150 square feet, or even down to 120 square foot. Or in my topic today, I wish to discuss what a tiny home is, the housing prices that we're currently seeing, and you might not be clear what it might be in the future, but also planning for the future, and then having the freedom to abode once again. Because a tiny home, particularly something like this, that sits on a utility trailer, it's only 120 square feet, but it is of high quality compared to what houses today are being built out of particle wood, which only lasts perhaps about 15 years. I've lived in Florida and I've seen what happens to these homes in hurricanes. They're easy, custom to your design and your needs. They're highly efficient because they have such a small footprint, carbon footprint, and you can build it yourself for about as little as $20,000, or you can have it manufactured with all the amenities for about $75,000. It's mobile because in our market today, your job might move around a lot more than before. So being attached to a foundation may not be in your best interest. And finally, it's attractive. This is not an eyesore compared to what you might think of the trailer park, which we'll discuss a little bit later. Inside out, yes. It has all the amenities from a full shower, washer and dryer, full kitchen, although in a microscopic way. And then, but it's there. But the real challenge is this, is that there is a big bad wolf. And that big bad wolf is that the price of housing continues to rise at a national rate of 3 times that of the income that is going on. Sorry, 2.5 times the national income. Average price of home in Monterey County is over $500,000. Remember when you wanted to buy the lottery ticket to get that $1 million? Well, this is what it might be happening. In Monterey itself, the median price for a home is over $750,000. And I've just described to you alternative housing for someone who might be leaving, who may not need a 5-bedroom house, or the person who is just entering the market. Well, let's talk about those millennials who want to enter the market. But their demographics are changing, and you might be holding on to that asset of $750,000 thinking that you're going to recoup that cost. But the demographics are changing. And they are this here. Zach Griffin of Small House Designer talks about this, where millennials are already, the people who are going to be professionals, are already deeply in college debt. So the chance of them wanting to come out and add more debt on is not likely. Further, they're trending to even smaller homes. In 1950, you had maybe a family of 4. Now it's down to 3 and even less. They're also trending to move and desire a smaller home, not your McMansion. And then moving away from the cities into the city centers where they just want to live closer to work and their interest. So lastly then, interest levels are remaining low, so that banks are not going to be able to recoup this, but you end up paying rent to the bank. And that's not a good winning situation. And in California, the supply has stalled out as far as building new homes. So the housing market keeps rising and rising in cost, particularly in Silicon Valley area, and where property taxes are moving people out as well. And then it's about this. Now, what are your prejudices about when you hear low-income housing, affordable housing, trailer park with double wide with a deck? Kind of ugly, isn't it? Would you want this in your backyard? Or would you rather have this? Just a small home. And this is a viable option to be able to maybe help pay down that expensive mortgage that you're paying. And that we're going to talk about that next. So, a tiny house on wheels is not an RV. It heats and cools like a house. It's wonderful. It's built and constructed like a home, so it's actually a residence. But the biggest challenge isn't where I want to put my shoe collection. It really is the challenge of getting everybody involved to get the zoning changed to allow these accessory dwellings to occupy in dispersed neighborhoods, such as your backyard. But there is a breeze of change coming. Fresno, California, along with the American Tiny Home Association, has set up 6 key conditions to meet this type of home here that would fit here, or you can build on private land. And those would be that it follows RV regulations in California, and that it's towable, and it's self-contained, and it really is for living. So perhaps this would be easily dispersed in your neighborhood. It doesn't require any additional capital from you, as the owner can come in and rent on your land. So it really fits that old grandma apartment and quaint. The other thing is actually getting land ownership, such as a condo association, where you actually own the land. This is key. My family owned a retirement trailer park in Port Charlotte Village in Florida. The hurricane came through, they were able to keep their home and get it rebuilt because they owned the property where their house was. The trailer park next to them became all new housing with Parkerwood, and that also got blown away when the eye of the hurricane Charlie came through. So have I got you to consider as a tiny home for you? Did I burst your bubble about the impending housing market that might cost you? Can I call you to action about working on getting zoning laws changed? And are you truly free right now? Are you free to abode once again? Thank you.
Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. It's wonderful to see you, and especially Dawn, to evaluate your number 7 speech, research your topic, and this is also in our legacy manual. It feels too soon to be saying legacy. Our legacy manual, competent communication manual. The speaker is to select a subject of importance to the audience that requires a large amount of research. The speaker is to collect the information from numerous sources and carefully support points with specific facts, examples, and illustrations, rather than the speaker's own opinions. I'll go through your evaluation in several parts. I'll provide 3 things that I think that were very effective, and 3 things that I think are areas for improvement for the future. And so I'll start with research. I thought you were very well researched. You had a lot of sources. You clearly know your subject about small houses. And also the next one would be examples. I really liked the examples that you had. It allowed it to be more storytelling. So you took this research subject that could, often we think of a research speech as being something that can be very dry, and you really brought it to something that we could all understand with the examples. And that brings me to the third one, that level of presentation. So one of the goals of the research speech is to gauge where your audience is, how you can engage them, and provide the right amount of knowledge or the right type of story or the right type of research, which you did really well. Because you took something, again, you could have gone through all these statistics and here's how many houses are bought and where they're bought and where they're placed and all the permits you need, but you didn't do that, you brought it all together with stories. So some areas for improvement, I think the obvious one is the technical part, and that's always a tough one. I actually had the same problem earlier this week in a meeting that I had. I showed up an hour early, took me that entire hour to get the thing to work, so I understand that. One way that we can do it here in Toastmasters is you send your presentation to the Toastmaster ahead of time so they have all these PowerPoints, they can get them loaded on one computer and have everything ready. And that would, one thing that would be helpful. The other one is the organization of your speech. I really liked the organization, but I'm not quite sure quite where it was. And I think what it was is that you had 3 main topics, and then within each of those topics you also used triads, which is really effective, but I think it might be that where you place the emphasis that confused me as to whether we were talking about the main topic or one level down. And so it's partially the transitions and partially where you place the emphasis. And I think in the future, having a slide deck that more clearly emphasizes those different pieces might help a little bit. It may have just been me. The third one is the use of the stage. So it was great, you didn't have any notes, but you can do more. I noticed that you were standing right here, so these folks wouldn't be able to see your PowerPoint. And so you want to move around a little bit more. But all in all, absolutely fantastic job. Wonderful to learn more about tiny houses. Thank you.